Well, well. Could this be the infamous Hugo that I haven't seen in 150 years?
The one and only, and where are your travels taking you?
Wandering this endless existence, trying to understand this new century and the motivations of this new humanity, because only God seems to be money and power. What is your story, pray tell?
I'm employed by Andre.
You're working for the Count? And by working, you mean his obsession with Adriana?
I do, and after 600 years, he's still in love with her.
How does this concern you?
It doesn't. It concerns you.
What is your master command of me?
You work at a very popular nightclub. Andres frequents this establishment and caught a glimpse of a girl with amazing resemblance to Adriana. You're to hook up an introduction. An introduction. She won't be adverse to the powers he can give her.
With all due respect to your master, he's attempted this before with disastrous results.
I will help you, okay? But you don't want to be the vampire to tell him any different.
I believe I know the young woman he speaks of. I'll do what I can to arrange an introduction, but there may be obstacles. 2 of them.
And what are they?
Every time I see the young woman, she's with one of 2 men whom I've heard are brothers.
2 human brothers are not a problem.
I believe it is.
Why is that?
Well, one of them is openly searching for her and has involved their friends.
And?
And the other brother is delusional and believes the young woman's in love with him.
Now, he'd make a good first meal.
Wait a minute. You'd be willing to sacrifice these humans because of Andre's obsession for Adriana?
I will if necessary.
Am I missing something here?
Are you aware of Andre's life before he received the dark gift?
I've heard tales.
Andre was born an aristocrat in the 10th century. He fell in love with a peasant girl named Adriana. His father was furious because Andre's marriage had already been prearranged. In those days, people didn't get married for love. They got married to further the family wealth. It was an advantageous match. His bride dowry, she would bring wealth, land, and money to the family. His father informed Andre he'd keep Adriana as a mistress, but if he refused to honor the marriage contract, he'd lose title to all the family estates. Andre being the eldest son, he would inherit all the family owned. It mattered little to him as he stormed out of the house in rage. He wandered through the woods contemplating his father's threat to disinherit him. Not unaware of where he was or how far he wandered off, he was suddenly and brutally attacked by what appeared to be a man, but wasn't. Suddenly he understood what attacked him. The creature was known as a vampire. He suffered for 3 nights of agony, not knowing what he was becoming. He also knew he could not return to his father's estates. He searched out Adriana and told her what he truly was, what a monster he had become, and that eternity stretched before him. An eternity meant a constant need for human blood. Adriana listened to his tale and knew she could not let him live like this alone. She loved him enough to beg him to change her, and they would spend the rest of eternity together. He swore to her he would never take her life or soul to the hell he lived. She argued and begged and finally threatened to end her own life. She convinced him that he was not a monster and his soul was still intact. He did not choose this life. Finally knowing he could not live without her, he agreed to change her. They traveled the world together for 600 years, never taking human life, only took the blood they needed to exist. As they passed through centuries, their love continued to grow. They lived a wonderful existence, marveling over the changes each century brought, traveling to great sights of the world, attending operas, museums, pyramids, making the world their homes. Legends among all vampires, it is rare for vampire couples to stay together so long, till one night hunting in the woods, the most unforeseen accident occurred. Adriana chased Andre through the woods. She pushed him, forgetting his age and strength. They playfully spun together, holding hands like children. Suddenly laughing, Adriana let go of Andre's hand. She paused for 1 second with fright in her eyes as their eyes met. She realized that when she let go of Andre's hand, the momentum carried her into a protruding limb which impaled her heart. Andre fell to his knees, and the sound of his heartbreak echoed throughout the forest, sounding more like an animal than a human. He wept tears of blood as he held the only remaining trace of her, the cross she had worn from the first day he had met her. Andre went through unspeakable agony and grief. He disappeared for at least a century. Finally, after coming to terms with the loss of his love, he began to live again, till one day he walked into the nightclub and saw her face, his Adriana.
I've never heard the entire tale before. But does Andre realize that the girl he believes to be Adriana reincarnated is a spoiled, selfish, power-hungry woman?
Well, she's not the sweet and loving Adriana that spent time and eternity with him.
This is something that Andre was going to have to realize for himself. I am a bit curious about something, though.
What was that?
How did you come to know the entire tale?
I'm the one who took Andre's life and turned him. Me.
Is the Count aware that you are his maker?
You know, Andre and I have come to terms with things, and through time and century, we've learned to respect each other and become somewhat friends.
I didn't realize how late it was. I need to take my leave.
Wait a minute. You take your leave, but you don't tell nobody about this tale, or you will lose your head.
I'd lose it all just to remain one last time in this refrain, to hold you and to hear you say I love you. Song to sing in hopes that it just might bring you back again. Oh, I'd lose it all just to remain one last time in this refrain, to hold you and to hear you say, oh, I love you. Last time in this refrain, to hold you and to hear you say I love you.